On April 27, 2011, the atmosphere over the southeastern United States became highly volatile, setting the stage for a sprawling and deadly severe weather event. Forecasters at the Storm Prediction Center issued a rare high-risk outlook, warning of a staggering 45% chance of tornadoes concentrated directly over Alabama. But long before the worst arrived, an early morning wave of severe weather swept through the state. Those initial storms knocked out power grids and telecommunications across the exact region facing the highest afternoon threat. By early afternoon, explosive storm development initiated on the Mississippi-Alabama border. New, violent updrafts fed directly off the leftover outflow boundary from the morning storms. Hundreds of thousands of residents were left entirely blind to incoming warnings, right as a highly charged tornado environment began to ignite. Faster, slightly urgently, west of Hamilton, Alabama, a circulation rapidly descended into a rural field. It immediately began tearing northeast at an astonishing forward speed of up to 70 miles per hour. Within minutes, as the twister crossed U.S. Highway 43, it violently intensified, ripping through the countryside with EF5 strength. Because the storm was racing forward at highway speeds, the window for anyone in its path to receive a warning, let alone seek shelter, was reduced to mere seconds. Directly ahead of this rapidly expanding circulation lay the town of Hackleburg. When a tornado covers more than a mile a minute, standard emergency protocols collapse. Even residents who did everything right had almost no time to react. As it slammed into the southwest side of Hackleburg, the tornado grew to 3/4 of a mile wide. Wind speeds inside the vortex reached an estimated 210 miles per hour. Well-built 4-sided brick homes were entirely leveled. Concrete stem walls were sheared off at ground level, and the debris was scattered dozens of yards away. The core of the tornado scored a direct hit on the local Wrangler jeans plant. The updraft was so extreme that heavy denim material from the factory fell from the sky in Cortland, Alabama, 40 miles away. The town's elementary and high schools were heavily damaged. The only grocery store was flattened, and entire neighborhoods were shredded into unrecognizable piles of splinters and bare trees. At 210 miles per hour, wind pressure overrides structural engineering. Above-ground building standards offer no protection when a storm is capable of wiping a community cleanly off its foundations. Maintaining its trajectory parallel to Highway 43, the storm entered the town of Phil Campbell and continued to grow, eventually swelling to 1.25 miles wide. The wind began physically scouring the earth. A 25-foot section of asphalt was sucked directly off a roadway, with heavy chunks scattered up to 1/3 of a mile away. Even taking shelter underground was no guarantee of safety. In one Phil Campbell home, the tornado ripped the concrete roof completely off a subterranean storm cellar. The rapid, drastic drop in atmospheric pressure exerted severe physical forces on the victims caught inside. Survivors reported feeling their stomachs pulled outward. Others suffered ruptured tear ducts or were physically sucked upward out of their bunkers. When localized low pressure and wind reach this extreme limit, the boundary between safety and the elements vanishes. The idea of an impenetrable underground refuge becomes an illusion. Leaving Phil Campbell in ruins, the twister plowed into the Bankhead National Forest. Moving at a blistering pace, it snapped and debarked thousands of trees, carving a solid mile-wide path through the dense timber. It then swallowed the rural community of Oak Grove. Here, the vehicle-tossing physics reached absurd extremes. A Corvette was launched through the air, landing more than 640 feet from its original resting place. Marching aggressively toward the Tennessee River, the vortex narrowly missed a direct strike on the Browns Ferry nuclear power plant. While the reactors were spared, the tornado obliterated the massive high-voltage transmission lines operated by the Tennessee Valley Authority. Huntsville and the entirety of northeast Alabama were instantly plunged into a 5-day power outage. With the regional power grid severed, hundreds of thousands of survivors were left in literal darkness as the wider, historic tornado outbreak continued to rage around them. At 4:50 p.m., the storm finally weakened and dissipated east of Harvest. It had remained continuously on the ground for 1 hour and 45 minutes, covering an astonishing 132 miles. The human cost was immense. 71 people lost their lives, marking it as the deadliest single tornado in Alabama's history. From the air, The towns it struck were virtually erased. Entire city blocks were reduced to bare concrete slabs, with shredded building materials windrowed into long, jagged lines across the dirt. The destruction was so total that satellite imagery captured a distinct, continuous brown scar carved deeply into the region's lush landscape, visible from space. The Hackleburg-Phil Campbell EF5 stripped away every defense modern engineering could offer, standing as a quiet, haunting reminder of our absolute helplessness when the atmosphere unleashes its maximum force.